Welcome back to Ask the Expert. I'm your host, Hannah Place, and today I am sitting with Jennifer Hines, who has over 23 years in sales and leadership experience, and now she owns a firm who helps small and large businesses scale and build sales systems that last. So if you are a small or medium-sized company, you are looking to up-level your revenue, your systems, your sales, this is the woman that you do not want to miss, okay? And I'm reading here, you were the first female sales rep for Black & Decker's Power Tool division.
I was.
Jennifer, that is so cool.
It's my claim to fame.
Well, I'm just thinking of myself as well as every other woman who is loving the power tool movement right now. My husband put a nail gun in my hands a couple years back to help with the project, and I was like, hey, I've got the power right now. This feels pretty good.
You got it.
I got it.
I'll tell you, I learned how to operate a router. I was determined to know my stuff as good as or better than anybody I was calling on. So
you probably had to work a little bit harder than
did.
every other person in that industry at the time, too.
I did. I was challenged a lot.
So what are some of the issues that you're seeing in businesses, small, mid-sized businesses? They feel stuck. They're looking to grow, but they just keep hitting their head up against that wall. What's going on for them?
There's multiple things, and I'll start with this. When a business gets stuck, in other words, revenue just feels like you can't break through a critical break point, commonly it's because the business has outgrown the sales approach, okay? And the leadership or ownership just doesn't realize it. And so oftentimes when business isn't growing, you have inconsistent or ineffective sales execution out in the field. And again, it's more of a blind spot. And so what I would add to that is that commonly people are missing a formalized sales process to get the effective, consistent execution across the team. In fact, I will share with you, and this is according to research, Harvard's research, that when a team executes a formalized, staged, milestone-centric sales process, it can impact revenue anywhere from 18 to 31%. Wow. Another huge blind spot. Many sales managers, and this is working with literally hundreds of companies, have been promoted from being the sales superstar, okay?
Interesting.
They now are the sales manager, charged with producing results through their team. The competencies for being a manager are completely different. Completely different, Hannah. And so if a sales manager hasn't had formal training and isn't proficient in things like coaching and leveling up the team in their skills and their mindset, if they're not effective in motivating the team, I mean, let's face it, sales is more challenging than it's ever been for a lot of reasons. Teams need motivation, accountability. I teach proactive, not reactive accountability. That's why accountability becomes a bad word in organizations. It's reactive. So in addition to that, if they're not effective recruiting, okay, so for instance, a lot of sales managers who haven't been properly trained in how to recruit using a formal process that is predictable in top sales talent, guess what? And so what you end up with is somebody that really doesn't have the ability to level up a team the way you need to get revenue moving.
It's dangerous.
And the final thing I would just say is this, that it's hard for a business owner or business leader to really understand the root causes that are driving the business, staying stagnant. And so that's one of the things that we do that's very different than anybody else out there that's working with sales and leadership to help them grow and accelerate revenue. So we can get to the root causes of the sales ineffectiveness and fix that. And so I would just say this, getting unstuck means that you've got to level up the sales approach, level up the sales systems, and level up the sales process so that you can break through that plateau.
That makes so much sense. It's kind of like you can't see the forest when you're in the trees, bringing in that outside person who has the systems and can say, hey, there's your problem. There's the root cause of all this other stuff. And you have clearly 23 years of experience. You are now the trusted advisor to the companies who are dealing with the issues. You've worked firsthand, and now you get to be that person to come in and bring that help. Why are you so passionate about, I mean, clearly at the place you've gotten in your career, you could say, hands off, I'm done, I had a great run. But you're so passionate about lending that hand back and bringing them up. Why are you so passionate about that?
I am. I love what I do. I will tell you that my whole career has been spent in sales and sales leadership. And let's see, after I left the corporate world, I founded a manufacturer's rep agency in the hardware industry. So I stayed in that niche, which was pretty fun because I think at the time there might have been 4 or 5 women total.
Incredible.
But anyway, after 10 years and along the way acquiring partners, growing our team, we actually built that business to over $100 million in annual sales. And I say that so humbly because I can tell you when I started my little business, not in my wildest dreams did I ever think we would achieve that level of sales on an annual basis. But, you know, I think about it this way. I've always had that mindset of kind of like the little engine that could.
Love that, yeah, resilient.
You know, so I don't know, there's no question we hit numerous plateaus. We made numerous mistakes along the way as leaders and whatnot. But we learned a lot from them. And today for me, if I can help a business owner or a business leader who's charged with, you know, just huge initiatives and growth plans, if I can help them prevent like the costly mistakes that aren't going to make a difference, you know, in the bottom line, I want to do that. Like as I see what I do as kind of in the world as inconsequential in some ways, but I feel like I'm changing lives at the end of the day. I can impact for better the lives of those business leaders and owners, you know, who put their heart and soul into what they do. I can change the lives of the sales professionals and frankly, all of their families. That's right. So that's why I do it.
Would you share a story with us, a recent success story, somebody that had a plateau maybe that you were able to work through?
Yeah, I can think of a very recent one. Let's see, the client, yes, revenue hadn't been growing at any type of pace. I want to say maybe the year prior they had grown 0.5% or something like that. So that was one issue. They felt it was stuck and they had very ambitious growth plans. In addition to that, they were, let's just say this, there wasn't peace of mind because so many eggs were in just a couple baskets as it relates to customers.
Okay.
You know, there were a few major customers that were contributing to most of that revenue. And the other issue that they had expressed in the beginning was that just inconsistency in winning new business. And so in working with them, the first thing that I ordinarily do, not always, but ordinarily, I'm going to go in and evaluate the team in 21 core sales competencies so I can identify exactly where the gaps are on the team. And I do a very comprehensive executive debrief after that to be able to just open the eyes of executive leadership or the business owner and say, here's the problem.
That's great. They don't have the time to do that.
No.
They need someone like you to come in and say, hey, here's what's going on in your team. You don't spend all day shadowing them.
That's exactly right. And we do it with a proven scientific assessment that is solely based on sales effectiveness. Great. It's got nothing to do with personalities. Everybody has a personality that can work in sales.
Yeah.
And so from there, we built a training program that head-on addressed the deficiencies of this team. okay, and why they weren't winning more business. And what's critical in that journey is that running parallel to the team development, we were working with and training the sales management team. And so they were not only aligned in what the team was learning, but they were also learning the 5 core management competencies, and in particular, learning how proactive accountability is actually very supportive. And so we built that into the process. We built pipeline analysis into the process, and also helped them build a formal milestone-centric sales process. And here was the really cool end result of less than a year. So when they came to me, their win rate was running about 24% overall. And when we got done, they were at 56%.
Incredible.
And they exceeded their revenue targets for that year.
Incredible.
So
you clearly have the numbers, so you can back up everything that you're doing. I can't imagine that there would be a person out there saying, I don't know if this would work for me. I don't know if Jennifer knows, what my business needs, because you clearly know. But what would you say to that person who is thinking, oh, is it sales and leadership that I need? Is that the training I should invest in next for my team?
Yeah, I run into a lot of leaders and business owners who their immediate thought is, it's not going to work. Been there, done that. And I totally get that, right? The fact is, there is a lot of what, I call off-the-shelf sales training. Now, I am not begrudging any training out there because, anytime somebody's willing to train their team, I couldn't support that more. At the same time, when you want results and you want them quickly, you need training that is targeted, right? That's going to actually get them the result that they actually need.
Right.
And so again, we can't improve what we don't know, right? And so that's why I say I commonly start with that overall team evaluation so that I, with confidence, can tell a business owner, if we do this, this is the result that you can expect.
Incredible. So you mentioned to me that you have a system that helps business owners close their deals more consistently.
Yes.
Can you share more about that?
I can. So first of all, I'm going to share something with you that a lot of business owners really look at me with eyes wide open, and that is this. I tell them, you're not losing deals or opportunities at closing time. You're losing them in the discovery process. No one realizes it though. So while we cover a wide range of competencies and different systems and whatnot, centric to what we do that is very unique is we teach a team, number one, how to build compelling value propositions. Now, keep in mind that in many cases, most team members, when they were onboarded, they got usually something like a week orientation. And that orientation was a lot of the company stuff, which is great, you have to do that. But they learned about the products, the features and the benefits. Well, that doesn't get you very far in an effective discovery process. And what happens is that reps have a tendency to be too quick to the pitch.
Yeah, that makes so
You
much
see?
sense.
And so when you're too quick to the pitch, talking about your product features and benefits, it doesn't land. It really becomes white noise for the decision makers out there because frankly, everybody's doing that. So instead, we teach sales professionals, how to build compelling value propositions that focus on customer-centric challenges, okay? Second, we teach them how to reverse engineer those compelling value propositions into discovery questions.
That's great.
So it really becomes a strategic conversation, okay? It's not all over the board because so many reps have a tendency to do this, and most of doing this is information gathering. It's not really getting to the compelling reasons that would make somebody want to take action and take action now. So you have to build urgency because people can stay interested for a very, very long time.
That's great. Is there anything else that makes your consulting business so different than other sales and consultants out there?
Yeah, I would recap something I've already shared, and that is we start by getting an MRI on the team.
Great.
We know what to fix, okay? And second, when we start building out what that team needs, we are very focused on that sales process to begin. Why? Because we know statistically that it can, by itself, turn into an 18 to 31% increase in revenue. And we see that all the time when the team is held accountable to executing it.
Yeah.
Now, here's the key. Much like I mentioned with sales training, there are what I would call off-the-shelf sales processes out there. And by the way, if somebody doesn't have any sales process and they're not looking to me for help, use whatever you can to have one. However, the common issue I see with sales process is that no one is executing at the field level those off-the-shelf sales processes. They just don't work for them. There's always steps in there that don't fit.
Too generic.
Very generic. What we do that's very different, Hannah, is we facilitate building the sales process with the sales team. Literally every stage, every step, I ask them what they want to call those stages, right? They own it.
Fully custom.
And so what happens, and I hear this from every single business that we work with, is they have a team that is bought into their sales
It has
process.
to be a part of it.
Correct. And so the other element that makes us very different is how much we focus on the discovery process, because we know that's where the deals are being lost. Too many sales reps, unintentionally, are out there working with prospects and customers just a bit too transactionally, for one.
Yeah.
And again, too quick to the pitch. I have an analogy that I always use with reps, and it usually resonates.
Yeah.
My analogy is if we're playing baseball and I get a hit to first base, and it could be a double, instead of running from first to second base, I think, hey, it'll be quicker if I just run over the pitcher's mound and get myself on third. Well, of course, you're out. And so is a sales rep when they're taking shortcuts, right? And so by teaching them how to effectively conduct a discovery conversation that converts, in fact, we call our program Strategic Conversations That Convert. So teaching them that, how to also, by the way, very consistently follow up. And to make the follow-up deliberate. No more checking ins, okay, to see where the status of something. Do you know that it is reported that, number one, 64% of companies don't have a nurturing process for leads, and more than 48% of reps, as reported, don't follow up. Wow. There is huge opportunity right there for any business to break through some stagnant growth because it's not happening ordinarily. And again, I say, businesses are not losing at closing time. They're losing in discovery.
That's great. I just, as somebody who, I love to shop, I love a good pitch, I want that salesperson wherever I am to share the benefits of the product or the service, but I want them to understand me first so we can make sure that it's the right thing and meet the need. And it just feels like what you are bringing to the table is this humane factor into selling. You're treating people like people, not just as a vehicle to pay the bills or to sell their product.
100%.
So I love what you're bringing to the marketplace. If somebody's watching this and they're thinking, I need some Jennifer in my life, where can they reach out to you?
Yeah, sure. Well, first, let me just say this to any business owner. If you're stuck, if you feel like you don't have peace of mind because so much of your revenue is coming from just a handful of customers, you need to diversify, please don't just accept status quo. Don't accept underperformance. You don't have to. There's a better way. And what I'd like to say to anyone watching is that reach out to me. I am happy to offer our free sales performance snapshot. I call it part diagnostic, part industry comparison. You'll know exactly where you're stacking up against others in your industry, and part action plan. And that is absolutely free. And so I'd love to offer that to people, and they can reach me at jennifer@asliinc.com.
Perfect. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And this is so fun. Ask the Expert is just constantly bringing on new experts in fields that maybe you haven't been exposed to before. I know I love sitting with someone like Jennifer who has decades of experience and gets to bring a new way to the marketplace that is future-focused, bringing her love of sales and people together. So if she is somebody that you resonated with, make sure to reach out to her, and we will see you next time on Ask the Expert.